Hey guys, I'm Aster, and on this channel we talk about all things magic. Today, the magic that I want to talk about is actually a book review. A book review about a book that is very special to me, and a book that I have briefly discussed with you on the video about books for beginners. And this book is, as you have seen on the title, of course, Moon Spells by Diane Ahlquist. I hope that I'm saying her name right. When I first got this book, when I saw someone somewhere in some video recommending this book, for the life of me, I can't remember who or where I saw this. It was some list someone made. I saw this book and I thought it would be exclusively about moon energy and how to use the phases of the moon as stated on the cover, actually. How to use the phases of the moon to get what you want. I thought the book would be only about that, and since at the time I already used the moon phases a little bit for my personal practice, I thought that this book was right up my alley and that I should check it out. But I was very much pleasantly surprised to see the amount of information that this book covers. And the information that you can find here is perfect for the beginner practitioner. It's everything that you need to know at the very beginning. I even made a little list I'm gonna read here just so I don't forget to mention anything. But in this book, you will see texts talking about how to cast a circle, correspondences of colors, candles, crystals, etc. Directions, which is like which direction to face while casting a spell, because that also has its implications. The formation, which is the shape that you cast. I don't know if you are aware, but you can go beyond the circle. You can also use squares, triangles, and you can combine like a square and a circle, a triangle and a circle. The circle is the base, but you can also use those other shapes, and each one of them has meanings. Not necessarily meanings, but effects, different effects. The author also talks about days of the week, incenses, altars, element water, and there's even a spell checklist to organize yourself for the day of your spell so you will not forget any item that you will need. I found that so thoughtful and so useful, And something that I really appreciated about this book is that the author is not coming from any particular tradition, if you see what I mean. She's not coming from a folk practice perspective. She's not coming from a Wiccan perspective. No, she's just talking about her personal experiences here and there. And it's just a person with years and years of experience manipulating energy, casting spells, helping out others and helping herself also, of course. She's just passing out magical knowledge that she has acquired through experience. And why I think that's relevant, that she was not coming from any particular path or tradition. Because at the beginning, and that's where I suggest you to read this book, it's going to be especially useful for the beginner. And still today, I still refer back to this book, okay? It's not that other levels wouldn't benefit from the information here, but I especially recommend it for the beginner. And when you are just starting out, you don't really know exactly what your magical path is going to be, what it's going to look like, and what exactly, what type of magic you will relate to the most. So the book is not influencing you to walk a path or another. It's just talking about fundamental pillars upon which you can build your own practice, your own way. Your practice is going to be like a combination of all of those factors together. Your culture, your tradition, your family, if your family is composed of practitioners, and on top of that, some specific kind of practice that you relate to the most. But it's not this book that will point at one direction or another. It leaves it up to you, it leaves it up to the reader to discover their own path. Here you just have the basics of the basics. Another thing that is worth mentioning is that the bibliography of the book, I always like to take a look at the bibliography, but this bibliography here has some pretty old, not old, but older books that you will not see that often being recommended by other authors. It's a short bibliography, only one page, but we have here, for example, books from the 80s, books from the 70s, which I think is super interesting, to take a look at what was being written, what was being produced about magic before, some decades ago. Of course, it is obvious what I'm going to say, but the craft, practicing magic, witchcraft, whatever you want to call it, it has not started with the internet. It has been around for generations, for centuries. But if you pick up a book that is published today, the bibliography of this book doesn't go that far away back in time, if you see what I mean here. So it's not like all of the books on magic, the relevant, important, interesting ones, all of them have not been written in since the year 2000. There are other works in the past that are still worth reading, even though some parts can be a little bit misplaced in the society of today with the values that we have today. Some things are outdated for sure, but those works were the predecessors, and I think it's cool to see those kinds of books being mentioned. And another thing about this book that is super nice is that at the end there's a whole section of spells for you to try out. There's even a puppet. And it's not for baneful work in this book in particular, and she talks a little bit about it. And I still remember how delightful my reading experience in itself was while I was reading this book. I remember it was springtime and I was just sitting on the grass at a park near my house. And yeah, it was warm and the flowers were blooming all over the place and the birds were starting to sing, and I would listen to this playlist. I'm gonna try and find it and link it in the description box. It was the definition of peace. And this book is special to me not only because it was the first book that touched on the surface of witchcraft for me. It's not only because of that Moon Spells is special to me personally, but also because it helped me to broaden my horizons in the magical sense. And it took me from just being a folk generational practitioner to also trying out other things that my family did not do. Like, for example, the puppet thing, and grounding, centering, casting a circle. Those things I didn't learn with my family. There were many things that I did learn with them, but many others that I didn't. And this one was this was the book that opened the door for me to see that there were many other things out there that I could use as well. Because yeah, it's always good to remind ourselves that a good, healthy dose of eclecticism, I hope I said that right, but it's always welcome, you know, especially nowadays that we have access to so much information from so many different sources. If it's not something that is part of a closed practice, and if we approach it respectfully without being appropriative, why not? To sum up, this is not the deepest, the most complete ever book that you will find on magic, on witchcraft, and what have you. It's not, but it's a door opener, I would say, because it will show you certain things that you, for yourself, can go and find deeper information about, more detailed information about. But still, the book is very comprehensive. It has a broad selection of information that will definitely help you to get started with your practice, or like in my case, it helped me to put together and like organize my personal practice. And I can assure you that this book covers almost everything that a beginner needs when they are first starting out. It was super inexpensive. I think I paid like 12 euro on this book. I would 100% recommend this book for anyone who is curious about magic, about energy manipulation, anyone who is just starting out or like isn't really sure about how to start out their practice for real. This was really a game changer for me, and like I've mentioned, it was here that the door of the rabbit hole was opened for me. But now I want to know about you. Have you read this book? What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did it help you at all or not? I will love to read your thoughts in the comment section below and to exchange some ideas with you. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this is going to be a little bit useful for you. And I can't wait to see you in the next one. Have a marvelous rest of your day. And remember, practice makes perfect. So let's get witching. Bye.